Oh, thanks, mate.
So I know people at home are clapping as well. So I'm just gonna, man,
Oh, thank you.
that was beautiful. That was actually my reaction when I saw it. It was just like,
Oh,
guys.
thanks. Thank you, mate.
And obviously, I know not just me. There'll be people watching at home who have been on the journey of your other projects as well, and how this kind of weaves into, where you come from and where you're going. And this is a really beautiful mark in the road of what you've created in this moment and the evolution of who you guys are as filmmakers and where you're going. So it's amazing. And you guys, well done. And to Lara and Will, those were performances, like, beautiful. So I just want to, before I ask questions and get into it, I just want to honor you guys because that was beautiful work. And I know a performance like that costs something. You can't just rock up. You can't rock up and just shoot that. You have to go somewhere with that, and there's work that needed to have been done. So congratulations. And obviously I got a few questions for you guys that I want to get into. But before we get into any of that, I just want to say a huge congratulations to the team, behind the camera, in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got a few questions. So if you'll indulge me and the people watching at home, I wanna ask you some stuff. Tom, I'm gonna ask you first. Why this project? I know, and that we'll get into a little bit more of that later. I know there's so many different things you're writing and you've got, in the pipeline and things that you want to do. Why this? Why now?
Well, I think this project it was different from any other project, basically because this kind of came out of like just a breakfast with Will. So me and Will had done like a few projects together and always had a great time. And yeah, I think we kind of met up and we kind of were feeling a bit like we were feeling, I don't know, like maybe a bit, when you get that kind of things aren't going your way a little bit, and I think we just felt like, well, let's just do a project together.
Create something together.
Yeah, and I think so that was kind of, always love working with Will. He's a great actor and he's always given me everything when he's done a project. So that was good. Yeah. And I think when I come up with ideas, I always get a picture, and I just my first picture that I got was this couple and they were climbing a mountain, and things weren't like good. There was an issue, and then I was like, "What's the issue?" And then I think it just worked from there. And then I think for me, I always start there, and then it's kind of like weird because I'm kind of on the journey of the audience, kind of like they're at the end of the film, kind of what's happening, why do they do that, why do they say that, and I think. So I brought the idea to Shelley, and then we were chatting about it, and then you felt that this was a good thing for us to do.
Did I?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. No, I did. Like it's funny with Tom. Like, I mean, anyone that knows him will know he is such an ideas man, and all his ideas are good, which is amazing, but really frustrating because it's really hard to choose like what project to run with. But I think this one, first of all, it was the script that kind of jumped out at me. I loved the characters straight away because they were so flawed, and I really liked that, and I thought that was really interesting. And when Tom comes up with ideas, it also has to be something that works for us. We have to understand as View35 Films, like what films we want to what stories we want to tell, and why we want to tell them. And I think this film, in many ways, this story in many ways was just really special. And I think a lot of our team have experienced grief. We know it very well, a little too well. And I think it was important for us to explore that and explore also the ways of finding hope through a really dark situation. So that's kind of how, we love to tell stories about and finding hope in kind of hopeless situations. So that's kind of why I was like, this project.
And Lara and Will, guys, I just want to do this. I don't know why I keep doing this, but I just want to do it again. You guys, that was truly, truly amazing work. How was it from your POV? How was it working on this? And just first of all, your general experience working it, and what were the challenges of this particular role? for both of you guys. So whoever wants to kick off
After
first.
you, Will.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go first. Yeah, I mean, amazing. It's out there, which is amazing. Like, I'm so stoked that everybody's kind of got to see it now as well. But it's been a while coming, and we've known kind of what it's about. And getting out there just feels good. It feels like a release. And that's kind of the best way, like, I can kind of describe filming it. Like, Tom touched on it really well, and he said that the film was kind of born from a place where we were kind of, not much was going on, and we were kind of itching for something. It was one of those kind of dry patches that you go through in life, and it was a release. And the sound's kind of weird. Like, we needed it to come along, and to have what was there within the film, to have the range and the variety of emotions and the journey that you go on, to be able to play that at that time was incredible. But it was tricky. It was challenging. The good days were good. You know, like you said, when we filmed it on the first day was all good, and you know we could really jump into that and buy into that and just enjoy it. And the whole crew was bouncing. It was a good time. And then the second day was the opposite. You know, we really had to take it to some dark kind of places or deep places. So it was just such a contrast between the two. So it was definitely challenging, but it was a welcome challenge for sure. Yeah.
Brilliant. And Laura.
I think you have a couple of jobs, or like, if you're lucky, a job a year that's really special. And this was really special. Like, from the script, I remember Tom sending through the script and saying, if you've got any notes, then just let me know. And I read it and I fell in love with it. And not to look stupid, I asked my partner to read it as well. And I said, can you give me anything to say about it? Because I've got no notes. I just fell in love. But from the script to working with Tom is always a pleasure, and Shelley, always a pleasure. It's just the most relaxed, trusting atmosphere that there is. Working with the Will Finlayson and the rest of the crew as well was an absolute pleasure. The Will Finlayson. So yeah, and I think when you get a script like that and a project like this, I don't know if you felt the same, Will. I was terrified because it's a great script, it's a great director, I've got a great co-actor, I've got no excuse to be crap.
No,
but
I was petrified. Time. But you were, mate, you were incredible, absolutely, like, stunning. To act opposite against was just incredible.
Definitely. And was there anything on this particular project that you felt you learned, or you had to kind of learn on the fly, or any particular moment that you can think of, like, I was struggling here and I had to pick this? What would that moment for you guys be, or was it kind of just plain sailing all the way through?
For me, I think, like, it was definitely no plain sailing. I think the thing that was surprising, like, there was a lot of work that went into it, and there was a lot of, like, research, and like Shelley kind of touched upon, like, everybody knows grief to an extent, but to take it to the place that kind of we had to because of the subject matter and put yourself in that place was really, it was hard, it was difficult. Like, I have the ecstatic memories of being engaged. I have that to draw upon, you know. And then we spent some amazing time working on our little backstory with the little baby, and then to take that up onto the kind of this mountain and kind of put that into your imagination and work on it was definitely challenging. You have to put yourself out there and surprise yourself a lot, I think.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, I guess for me it was just I didn't find anything difficult at all. I was
plain sailing.
I think it's a thing for a lot of actors. It's just being truthful and honest, especially up the mountain in the second day. The pressure of reaching a certain emotional state, but you can't push it. If it's not there, it's not there. And just being true, and also because it's, being sensitive with the subject, because it's such a universal, grief is so universal, just being sensitive with that and just reminding myself, just be truthful.
Yeah, well, it was truthful, and it was beautiful work from both of you guys, and it was such a privilege and an honor to watch it and now be part of it and have these questions to ask you. So thank you again for your contributions, and yeah, bless you guys. Thank you. It was wonderful, and I know I won't be the only one sharing that sentiment. I know a lot of people will. So congrats to both of you.
Thank you.
I do have another question kind of just for you, Shelley.
Yeah. Okay.
In terms of the logistical challenges that this project had
Yes.
in terms of filming up a mountain and basically hiking with a crew and camera and all that, what were the biggest challenges and how did you overcome them?
Okay, I mean, right. Well, there was quite a few challenges, but I think they're always good challenges. Like, I don't mind challenges. I find them quite fun because, for one, it's so much more rewarding when you when you achieve them. But yeah, the challenges, first of all, was the fact that we filmed this all in Scotland. So we had to find a location, we had to find accommodation, we had to hire a massive party van. So we had a massive party van that was so much fun. So, you know, just those logistics. And then, yeah, literally, as you say, Hayden, it was literally climbing a mountain 2 days in a row with, like, film equipment on our backs, like, with, like, me and Josh. So Josh is the first AD, fantastic. Can I just also say a massive shout out to the whole team of the crew were just absolutely incredible. We literally could not have done this without them. They went above and beyond and just gave us so much on less.
There wasn't like 20 people behind the camera.
No,
there was like
8.
There was like us.
Is it 8?
No, like 8 of us, including Will and Lara.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, but me and Josh had like about 20 cans of Coke in our backpacks, and oh my goodness, to say it was heavy was just insane. But also, I think the light and the shade was a real challenge because we were having a lot of fun. And then we had to get in some really deep scenes, but obviously that's a lot harder for Will and Lara than it was for me. I just had to be quiet and shut my mouth. But
I think as well, we had to prepare, like, obviously, you know, kind of logistically, it was like 2 different time periods. Like back, like one day, you know, the next day, and then obviously, like, we had to prepare for obviously with the weather. I'll never forget when we got the permit. She, the lady, sent you and said, "Good luck with the weather," because basically she was like, you know, this could be a washout.
Yeah, so we had to get a permit, obviously, to film.
So we had to carry tents just in case it poured, and then we could just like.
At one point, a tent just went flying. We were just like. Bye. We're on a mountain, no problems. But no, but it was we got through it all. The team were amazing in every challenge that came and just absolutely made the film.
Something you said was kind of naturally coming into my next question I had for you, Tom, was how did you manage to shoot the 2 different timelines? I think that's a huge part of this film and that was the thing that stuck out to me. The first kind of 5 minutes when I was getting into it, when I watched it, was like, okay, what's going on here? They're good, and then they're not good, and okay, and then when there's a story develops, you start to see the reasons and why they are the way they are. So, how important was that into the telling of this story, and you know, how did you actually practically go about shooting that?
Yeah, I think one of the that was always going to be the challenge, but I think me and Cooper, and shout out Cooper if you're watching. I know it's like
Super Cooper.
I know it's like 6:30 in Australia, so you might not be up. But much love if you are. We really talked about how do we do this visually? Like, how do we kind of showcase the different time zones? And so the first thing we did is we shot on 2 different cameras. So the 2 years earlier stuff was shot on a completely different camera from the later stuff. So that kind of immediately gave us a different look. We shot on a closer, tighter lens for the 2 years earlier stuff, and so everything looks closer together. And you'll notice, for example, like when there's close up of the other actor, of Will or Lara, you'll see the other person is in the kind of shot, just to kind of get that real closeness. And then for the 2 years later, we basically shot on a wider lens and making sure all the close-ups were singular. We did some like negative framing as well, so we moved the close-ups so they were kind of normally framed rather on, like, I think it's the left or right side of the frame on the other side, just so it kind of gave us that kind of visual difference. And then I think we spoke to the guys with Will and Lara, and we had 2 different scripts. So like when we had the originals draft, and then this is the 2 years earlier draft, and then this is the 2 years later draft. And it was like on the first day, which we shot the kind of the happier stuff, shall we say. It was, we basically, we kind of just forget about all of that, just live in this moment.
Yeah.
And
so we actually shot the film the whole 2 years earlier on one whole day, and then the whole 2 years later on another day, and did it in that way. So, like, I suppose for Will and Lara, it would have been really difficult to get in, to those to those really challenging scenes if we hadn't have done it that way. It's still challenging. It was still challenging to get into it, even the way we did it. But yeah, I suppose that's a question for them in how they managed really to get into those really difficult scenes.
A night's sleep in between the two was like essential. I remember when we first talked about, is it possible to do like to hike the mountain once and do both scenes and like make it work? But we were like, no, we're gonna have to hike this mountain again. So being able to separate the two between that 2 years earlier joy and then the 2 years later, it was essential. But it was a different experience. Like we barely spoke on the second day of filming. The crew, the kind of like you have to have fun on this, but like on that second day, we were like just we need to be separate. We need to not speak to each other. Like the energy was down. Shelley was like keeping herself from being her joyful, like amazing self and trying to bring everybody up. And we were just like.
Shelley was the fun police on the second day, which is like the total opposite to what she actually is. Like, guys, can just stop singing?
Yeah, that was so hard for me.
Better moments, but also with the costume, like I'm working with Will and Lara, we were like, okay, we want it to be brighter. So it's Will's got like a red jacket, he's got all his like gear, and then later on it was kind of these subtle differences to kind of.
Also, we studied grief and colours of grief, and so we made sure that like their clothes represented those similar colours in those stages of grief that the characters were in. So that was another part of it.
Yeah.
No, that's brilliant. It was the one thing that I really keyed into when watching it, and it's kind of just a shorter question before I get into some other things I want to know. Was the music. I found it really, really touching. And what was it you were looking for, and kind of who did you go to in the whole process? Talk us just through the kind of the sound, the sonic aspect of this film, because it is really powerful.
Well, okay, so I started off that some of the music is me. However, I started this, and I can compose music, and it's it can be fine. But really, like, this film was so special. I think Will and Lara's performances literally took our breaths away. Like, even with all of the challenges and putting it all together, like I've said this to Lara and Will, like my biggest compliment to them is I completely forget that I'm watching them, that they're my friends. I completely forget that, and I'm so lost in the character. And I think when I was originally starting to compose the music, I did the first half of the film, and then Johnny Abraham, who is just absolutely incredible. He I was like, I've got to call him. Like, he's amazing. He's incredible. His music is so good. He's so talented. And this is the first film he's ever composed. But I think it just needed that. I wanted to really feel the emotion. I really wanted us to like cry when they're crying, feel happy and joy when they feel joy. And I think I knew what I wanted in terms of the vision of that, but like Johnny just absolutely nailed it. Absolutely, like just the first track I think he showed us, he's like, oh, it's not quite ready, it's not perfect. We were just like, I mean, it's brilliant. So yeah, I think that was kind of, we just basically wanted it to convey the real emotion that, that complemented the fantastic acting from Will and Lara. That brilliant. Was really our goal for it, and I think Johnny just absolutely nailed it.
Thank you. And I got one final question. It's kind of the question I badger you to, Tom and Shelley, with privately, so I'm just going to open it up. What's next for you guys? What's on the agenda? What do you want to do next? Because you just keep releasing banger after banger and amazing film after amazing film. So yeah, what's next? What's next for you guys?
I knew there was a reason why we asked you to host. No, I mean, we are working really hard now on feature films. So
brilliant.
The next direction we want to go in is making that full length film movie. And Tom has written, and surprise, an incredible story, and he's created an entirely new world. And it's a grounded sci-fi
I really
thriller.
don't enjoy this.
Shut up. It's not your time, I'm speaking. It's a grounded sci-fi thriller feature film, and we are aiming to shoot it. I know, this year. I know. But, you know, we believe we can. We're going to go for it. We're going to give it our all, if not early next year. But yeah, we are actually still looking for some financial partners to come along the journey with us. It's a very exciting journey, I think. We think.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be fun.
But yeah, no, we're excited, and we just always want to keep creating. Really, we love making films, regardless of what happens to them, whatever the outcome is. We always hope for the best, but we literally just love making films. So yeah, it's a feature film that's next. But yeah, that's it. Okay, we can stop now.
We'll stop.
Now.
Brilliant. So yeah, thank you guys for coming, Lara, Will, Thomas, Shelley, everyone
Hayden,
who's watching
you.
online.
You are amazing,
me.
Hayden.
I mean, if you want to clap for me, I'll clap for you. You know, thank you. And yeah, any thoughts, anything you want to share, feel free to hit us up on social media. So that's at View35 Films. We'll probably do this again sometime, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But this time we'll do it as a feature.
Wait.
Bam. That's I said what I said. So thank you for coming. Thank you very much, and have a great evening. Peace.
Cheers.
Bye.